If this was the regular Romeo Crennel defense, I wouldn't bother making a video. I would just say this defense is going to be the same as we always seen with Romeo Crennel. No creativity, and if there is creativity, our outside linebackers will be dropping back in coverage, and that's about it. But since we have Mr. Anthony Weaver, our new defensive coordinator, who says he wants to get exotic, we're going to discuss this defensive line next. Let's cue the intro.
The city of the dream team, Hakeem, Turing, Beyonce, yeah, me. And I remember hot summer, hot winter. I couldn't fight, so the block made a hot spill.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the 713 Houston Sportcast. I'm your host, Ruben Calvillo. And guys, other Texans YouTuber, Texans Talk, really did a good video about Anthony Weaver. Feel free to check him out. You know, he died on everything. He's pretty good. But let's go on with the video. And I think this Houston Texans defensive line with the new defensive coordinator will be very, very surprising to us because, you know, we saw this defensive line last season. We couldn't get to Patrick Mahomes to save our life. And we all know if you don't have a good defensive line, your secondary is not going to be good whatsoever because, you know, this play just comes to mind right now when in the Tennessee Titans game, Ryan Tannehill had about 8 seconds, you know, to scramble. You know, he was in the pocket, didn't move, and found, you know, A.J. Brown for the touchdown. That's the kind of stuff that happens when you don't have a defensive line that could get to the quarterback. But, you know, I'm going to break down some of the players that I think will be a huge impact for this Houston Texans team. If I leave some out of it, hey, I'm sorry. You know, this is just my opinion. But let's start off with the guy that I predicted the Houston Texans would draft, and that is Ross Blacklock. I am very excited for Ross Blacklock because if you look at him, he's built like a defensive tackle, but he can also play the defensive end, the defensive end position. And here's why I say that. He tore his Achilles a few years back, and he lost about 25 pounds. And, you know, when that happened, his pass rushing ability got much more fierce, much more better. And yes, I love DJ Reader, but DJ Reader couldn't get to the QB. He did have a lot of pressures though, but Ross Blacklock has shown in TCU that he can not only be dominant against the run, but he could pretty much very easily get to the QB. Had 3 sacks last season, was double teamed a lot, had one of the best run stoppage ability among defensive tackles across college. So we got a very good run defender, and I love the fact that he's going to be alongside of jjwatt. And I love that, and I'll get to jjwatt much later in the video, but let's also talk about the other defensive tackle that the Houston Texans signed, Tammy Jernigan. Well, he hasn't been signed yet, but he is going to. The reason why we haven't put the pen on paper is because, you know, this whole COVID situation going on. He's in Philly right now with his family. But Tammy Jernigan is another one of those special players who you could move alongside the defensive line. We saw last year when healthy, when he was on the edge for the Philadelphia Eagles and pretty much, you know, did a very good job. Had about 3-4 sacks on the season until he got injured. You know, I talked to some Philadelphia Eagles fans, and they said themselves that Tammy Jernigan is a very good player when healthy, but the Eagles failed him because they have such a poor medical staff, and that's pretty much true. A bunch of the Eagles last season and the season before that were pretty much injured. So I'm really excited for what Tammy Jernigan can do for this Houston Texans team. If you compare them both, and you know, if you compare them both and put them on the D line at the same time, Blacklock and Jernigan, it's just going to be pretty much havoc for the offensive, you know, for the opposing offensive line and the quarterback as well. And let's get to this defensive ends, and you have to start off with jjwatt. When healthy, jjwatt is one of the best defensive players on the planet. And that's just, you know, absolutely true. One of the most double-team defensive players. And, you know, when he gets double-teamed, it's going to free up a bunch of others, you know, to go get to the quarterback. Anthony Weaver said it himself that jjwatt is huge if he plays 16 games. We need jjwatt to play 16 games. If he does that, this defensive line, this defense will get better right off the bat because he is a leader. He's shown that in big moments that he will make plays. Hey, against the Bills, when we needed a huge down, he got the sack, and that's what turned the tide for the Houston Texans. And he frees up other players to make big plays. And let's not forget, in the first 5 weeks, Whitney Merciless had 5 sacks, 5 forced fumbles, and an interception because jjwatt was getting double teamed. And if, you know, a full 16 games of jjwatt healthy will help Whitney Merciless. Whitney Merciless, we know, has pass rushing ability, can get to the QB, was a dark horse to be defensive MVP in the year the first 6 weeks. He was absolutely playing good, but when jjwatt got hurt, that's when this defense took a huge step back. We couldn't get to the QB. We couldn't stop the run. And, this season is huge for Whitney Merciless as well. We just paid him a huge contract. A lot of people are saying that he is pretty much overplayed. I'm expecting a big year out of Whitney Merciless. We've seen the 10 sack season. We've seen the 12 sack seasons. We need to see more of that from Whitney Merciless. And let's go to the other defensive end spot. A lot of people are thinking it's going to be Angelo Blacks, and I don't think so. I think it's going to be second-year Charles Omenihu. Charles Omenihu played pretty good when he was put in the game. We all remember that, that week 5 strip sack against Patrick Mahomes. I'm expecting a big year from Charles Omenihu. His reach is just ridiculous. I'm expecting a lot of big things from our young players, from Blacklock to Charles Omenihu to the outside linebacker Jacob Martin, and the other one, Jonathan Grenard. Speaking of Jacob Martin, if he had played, almost 90+% of the snaps, he would have had almost 12.5 sacks, 15.5 sacks projected. Jacob Martin, very good against the pass rush. He uses his speed, but, against the run, he's not pretty much that good. And let's talk about the other offensive, the other outside linebacker, and that is the guy we just drafted. Jonathan Grenard led the SEC in sacks and led the SEC in tackles for loss. And when you add somebody in that caliber who played in a pretty good division, the SEC, and led in the defensive category, that is honestly gonna help your defense right off the bat. And Anthony Weaver said he wants to get exotic. What's more exotic than moving Jonathan Grenard all along this this defensive line? Making a lot of people miss. He could get to the quarterback. He could get to the run. He could pick off the ball. He's a special player. I don't know how he fell that far, but I'm super excited for Jonathan Grenard. And, the other people, Duke Ejiofor, who has shown he could get to the QB but cannot stay healthy. Brendan Scarlett, I've never been high on Brendan Scarlett. I could easily see Jonathan Grenard taking his spot as a starting outside linebacker. But these young players, the Blacklocks, the Omenihus, the Martins, the Grenards, is what I expect to have a huge season for this Houston Texans. And there's still pieces to be added. I said a couple days ago that the Houston Texans now have $19.7 million in cap space for this season left, and they could either go after Everson Griffin or they could go after Jadeveon Clowney. I think you cannot go wrong. I think Everson Griffin is a short-term solution, a short-term problem that you're going to need in maybe next year or the year after that. But if you get Jadeveon Clowney, he absolutely balls out in this Houston Texans defense, then you could re-sign him and just, and have this defense be pretty good, because we saw when jjwatt got injured, Jadeveon Clowney really stepped up. Anthony Weaver said it himself, I'm going to go back to this, that he wants to get exotic with this defense. And what's more exotic than Jadeveon Clowney? Somebody who can move over the center, the outside linebacker, the defensive end spot, rushing standing up, rushing with his hands in the dirt. That is exotic. And, the only matter is will the Houston Texans do it? But overall, I have a lot. I'm really excited for this defensive line. I wonder what Anthony Weaver is going to do, because, he comes from that Rex Ryan defense, that Baltimore Ravens defense, that Doug Marrone defense. And I'm super excited for what he's going to do. But let me know what you guys think, guys. Are you excited for this defensive line, or do you think it's going to be just the same with a little Romeo Crennel implements? Please let me know. As always, guys, go Texans. You guys have a blessed day.